My fault. All right, Avowed. Here we go. Here we go. The review is out on Game Pass now. Luckily for me, I don't have to pay
On
for
the
this
heels
game.
of an insect-filled survival game and a 2D detective story straight out of the 16th century that were pleasantly surprising departures from what developer Obsidian does best, Avowed is a return to that traditional action RPG comfort food we know and love. Set in the fantasy universe of Pillars of Eternity, this is a game that's filled with all my favorite RPG cliches.
I'm sure you've diffused more complicated situations.
Like standing around a campfire with my party members to exchange dark backstories and unresolved traumas.
Seems strange to me.
And looting every single slain enemy before their corpse has even begun to cool.
You gotta loot. You gotta loot.
Per Obsidian's pedigree, the writing, world building, and open world maps are all quite good, and running around lobbing deadly spells at reanimated skeletons and violent lizard folk to claim shiny new gear is as entertaining as you might expect, if not exactly breaking new ground. That's a bit of a trend, actually. Avowed draws so much from the Skyrims and Dragon Ages of the past that it ends up an overall unsurprising adventure that has few distinctive ideas to call its own.
Many years ago,
so they call
you were born to a family in our Adiran Empire, and in a rare turn of the wheel, you came into this world a godlike.
As both a chosen godlike imbued with magical powers and the envoy of the Emperor, the character is granted a downright irresponsible amount of authority to do whatever you please. And you're dispatched to the wild continent of the Living Lands to put an end to a mysterious plague of madness called the Dreamscourge. There's no big hurry though, so you can also find time to aid any person on the street who asks you for help with whatever personal problem they might have.
Come back when you've dealt with them. And make sure you get their leader, too.
I like those. I'm sorry to pause so early, but yeah. I like those little missions there where, like, you could just walk by. Anything could be popping off. It could be a setup. You go follow this person and you get jumped. Or you go follow this person, you get some crazy loot that you would have never known if you didn't stop by that person. Like, I like that RPG element. That's one of my favorite RPG elements.
You'll spend your days delving into ruined yet beautiful caves, sewers, and forgotten places in search of loot and XP while taking every opportunity to wail on beasts and ne'er-do-wells with swords, bows, and spells. Yes, this is basically the premise of every Western RPG for the past several decades, but that's because it's a formula that works reliably. Avowed executes almost every aspect of it quite well.
If it ain't broke,
this is especially true of the dialogue and story, which is without question the thing Avowed does best. Unraveling the mystery of the fungal Dreamscourge and the otherworldly forces at play is a journey well worth seeing to its conclusion, especially since your decisions can have a profound impact on how things end up. Granted, most of the twists and turns that Avowed's plot sets up become pretty apparent well before your character and their companions become aware of them, which is a bit disappointing given the Pillars of Eternity.
Wait a minute, I'm getting like the facial expressions is reminding me of Mass Effect Andromeda, just bad, dead. Like, look at those eyes. Those eyes are so like dead and not expressive. But I ain't gonna go too far in on the game.
Record for wild revelations that took me by surprise.
Looks more like a curse to me.
Even so, the story kept the adventure running full steam the whole time, especially with interesting choices to make to keep you company along the way. In my case, that took 50 hours, but that was kind of a completionist run. You could burn through it in half that time.
Really? I wouldn't know what to do with that much encouragement.
Bantering alongside your four companions is especially delightful. Each of them brings their own opinions, personal problems for you to untangle.
I appreciate these little moments.
And cool combat and puzzle-solving abilities to rely upon while exploring the Living Lands.
Ready, aim.
Hanging out with Kai, the sarcastic reptilian mercenary with a fondness for woodworking, is rarely dull.
That almost does sound like a punishment.
And bringing the furry, cat-like, and relentlessly horny mage Yatsli along will almost guarantee you won't have to go very long without some choice innuendos.
What? Out of breath already? Talk to one of the boys. See if they can help with your stamina, dear.
Sadly, she's just a tease. You can't actually romance any of them. And the social links you can develop are fairly shallow.
You can't spank her down.
That's not crucial or anything, but it seems like a missed opportunity for a relatively easy win. It's otherwise great at building camaraderie with your eclectic found family, and even a fade to black sexy time scene can give you something to remember an RPG playthrough by. Just saying.
And let me tell you,
this guy is like criminally horny. Like, what's up? What's up, bro? Like, he said, oh, even a fade to black scene can give you something to remember, man. My man be gooning, man. What's going on, bro? IGN, you got these freaky ass reviewers.
That does nothing for my fur.
When you aren't chatting up the locals, you'll probably be sending them back to the wheel for reincarnation via Avowed's tumultuous combat. You'll face off against the usual baddies, from typical fantasy creatures and animals, to creepy wraiths and people driven to madness by the Dreamscourge. Fighting with melee weapons and magic feels smoother and more competent than it does in many similar fantasy RPGs, but evading dozens of enemies as they charge through sickly marshes and barren deserts isn't as easy as it looks. I spent most of my time playing as a squishy wizard who had little in the way of protection and had to do my best to keep my distance, quick dodge like a champ, and rain down as many high-powered spells as I could to keep them at bay. I'm especially fond of how this one turns enemies into floating piñatas, and this one just zaps everybody in a big area.
I like how it shows the area of effect.
There are more martial character build options that require more blocking, stabbing, and making use of power attacks to break the enemy's guard. And each of these has their own skill trees that let you do neat things, like smack enemies onto their backs with a powerful ramming attack. As someone who insists on playing on the hardest difficulty on my first run, I definitely found myself knocked on my butt more than a few times, and accidentally stumbling into an area that I wasn't properly leveled for was quite humbling, but it was never insurmountable. My biggest issue with combat is in the variety of opponents. For the vast majority of my 50-hour completionist run, I found myself fighting the same handful of enemy types everywhere I ventured, and almost none of them are interesting or unique in their behaviors to begin with. There's of course skeletons in need of re-killing, oversized spiders that spit gunk at you, and bears, oh my. Just as an aside, by God, there are so many bears in this world. Even when it doesn't really make any sense for them to be here, they throw a few bears into the mix. Why are there two of them sitting around a campfire with bandits? What are they pets? They've got two pet bears? Okay. Anyway, after a few hours, the novelty of fighting these humdrum fantasy baddies and my interest in squaring off against them.
You the energy sword?
Every once in a while, something big, scary, and unexpected would arrive and make me remember how to defeat a non-bear opponent, but these welcome surprises are too few and far between.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like IGN, like, they read the comments a little bit too much and feed into that a little bit too much, because he keeps trying to emphasize how I did a completionist run and I put it on the hardest difficulty from the beginning, because you know game journalists have been getting knocked for years for not fully experiencing what games have to offer. And I get it, but it's just like, just keep it real, bro. If you did, you did, you did. I don't know if he did or he didn't, but it just feels like you forcing it because you trying to prove that you could play it on a hard difficulty level. And that's kind of lame.
Thankfully, there's plenty more to do and see while exploring each of Avowed's 4 substantial open-world hubs, each filled with side quests to complete, minor puzzles to solve, hidden chests to loot, and people to talk smack to.
Get out before we use your bones to make Petro a new cage.
It's a structure that resembles the Outer Worlds' separate planets. None of the maps are especially big, but they make great use of the space they have, and they're all delightfully colorful and brimming with personality that's a welcome change from the sometimes drab and dull places we end up exploring in other RPGs. There's also a surprising amount of uneven terrain, since Avowed really seems to want you to engage with its parkour system that lets you mantle up ledges and do some minor platforming to reach hidden places. You won't be wall running or swinging from poles like you find in Dying Light, but it's still a nice touch that gives you something else to do when you're exploring the living lands.
I like that. It keeps
However,
you engaged.
While
Keeps you
these maps
engaged.
are great to explore the first time you go through them, they don't give you many reasons to stick around or run through again since enemies never respawn. This is a blessing insofar as you don't have to retread the same areas to fight monsters and bears that have arbitrarily reappeared, but it also means any backtracking is completely devoid of life. They're empty to the point where I felt extremely pressured to move on to the next zone as soon as possible because it felt as if the cleanup crew was going to show up to break down the set and remove the furniture at any moment. Here's a clip of me walking across an entire map without encountering a single enemy.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that. I'm torn on that.
Yet if
I
there's
don't know.
one
Maybe
thing that impressed me the most about Avowed, it's the fact that across my 50+ hours with it,
because it's just like when you trying to backtrack and you got to sludge through all of the shit that you just did, and you got to fight the same enemies again and use resources. It's like that's not too fun for me either, unless I'm trying to farm, unless I'm trying to go back to an old area to farm resources. But if I'm just going back to look for an item or something like that I might have missed, I'd rather the least path of resistance, to be honest, instead of fighting the same enemy over and over and over again.
on Xbox Series X, I encountered almost no glitches or technical issues worth mentioning. There was one time where I unwittingly killed an optional boss before accepting the quest to hunt it down, another where my compass wouldn't tell me where to go for the next part of the main story, and sometimes I'd see odd polygons pop in and out while exploring the world. But I can count the number of times these things happened on one hand, and I didn't experience a single crash even once during my entire time playing. That's all but unprecedented for this genre, and an extremely welcome surprise. With awesome world building and stellar character writing, Avowed reminds me why I fell in love with Obsidian RPGs in the first place. However, the bigger picture is that it plays it quite safe, with a by-the-numbers fantasy adventure that's more familiar than evolutionary, and there's barely any enemy variety to keep its swords and sorcery battles interesting for long. Even if it doesn't swing for the fences or leave a memorable mark on the genre though, it's still perfectly competent with all the tried and true stuff I expect, including chaotic combat, leveling systems, and a loot progression that lets you build the kind of character you want to play, and meaningful decisions that can have a massive impact on the world. Plus, the whole thing's surprisingly technically stable compared to its reliably unreliable peers. I enjoyed my time parkouring my way through Eora, and think you will too. Just don't expect Avowed to show you anything you haven't seen before. For more, check out our reviews of Civilization 7 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
Yeah, I was about to say it's given 7. It's given 7 because he mentioned a bunch of times
Avowed's
that there was like nothing special about it. Like it was like a by the numbers RPG. I wanna look at the Metacritic score, because as I'm scrolling through YouTube, I'm seeing a lot of people was like not feeling it. Like Luke Stevens was not feeling it. And as I was looking for this, a lot of people was like it's either average, they just wasn't feeling it. So it might get like a mixed rating. Let's see if there's any Metacritic scores up yet. Let's see. Avowed. Oh, generally favorable. Okay, generally favorable. So based on 62 reviews, and then the user score is not available yet because a lot of people haven't gotten through it yet because it just came out. Lowest score I see here is a 70. Okay, a 60. Avowed can be fun, but we finished even a few popular RPGs. Obsidian's new game won't surprise you. Anything new or brilliant. It's a decent game, and the present visual ultimately a bit shallow. Okay, so it's a good game. Nothing stands about it. So it's PB&J. You know, it's pasta. It's spaghetti and meatballs. You know, it's regular. Let me see. Is it on Steam? Because I could check the Steam score too. I kind of want to check the Steam score. All right, so the PC guys are saying very, very positive. Very positive. Okay, so even the PC guys are liking it. That's cool. That's cool. So I'm definitely gonna check this out because it's on Game Pass. when I get back to streaming. I just gotta finish Astrobot, and then I'll probably jump on this, and I'll just play it over time, because it's gonna take me a while to beat it. Obviously, if I get bored with it, I am going to put it up though. I am going to put it to the back burner because I wanna get through some games this year. I'm already kind of behind with the streaming, but this looks cool. It looks like something you can have fun with, something you can make some good content with. So I'm gonna be on this. So y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments, all right? So y'all already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's your boy JusticeXFalls, and we out. One.